Hello, I'm Jose, and this is the Cinematic Dogma podcast. And I'm joined as every week by my, I don't know if you are a swinger or not, friend Blake.
It depends on what clubs
On
are
the offer.
available. Yeah. Depends on how hot the guy is.
But yeah, just already a bit of a spoiler, but this week we watched the 1996 classic Swingers.
Written and directed by.
Oh, dude, I forgot. I told you something at the beginning that it was not correct, but I don't remember.
Oh, I was wrong. So it was.
It was written by Jon Favreau,
but directed by somebody else.
Yeah.
Doug Liman or
Yeah.
Liman. I assumed it was directed by Jon Favreau because
True,
he went
yeah.
on to be a director, but it was just
Yeah,
started and written.
yeah,
by.
because initially when I told you, it's like, yes, the John Favreau. Then I realized that it's not just Jon Favreau. But it's like, no, he only wrote it and starred it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this was your pick, Jose, and I would like you to explain explicitly why you asked for my time in this way.
So, wow, already giving it away? Okay, dude.
No.
Yeah, let's not give it away.
Just to be clear, I hadn't seen this film ever before.
Oh, you didn't?
No. This was my
okay.
first time. You had seen it?
Yeah, I have seen it. Yeah. So I picked it up because on a Thursday last week, so 5 days ago, we went to the Green Mill with some friends in Chicago. Right now we are in the Bay Area recording face to face. But at that point, that was on Thursday, and on Thursday on the Green Mill is Swingers Night. So they have a swing band, like a gigantic swing band, and they're like swingers dancing around.
You're going to judge me, but I just put it together, the double entendre.
Yes, because they actually, and I was like just looking at them, it's like, yes, they actually are changing couples, like
Right.
per each one of the dance. Is that you can see like a woman on their 60s dancing with a kid on their 20s.
Okay.
So
So
at
that's
that
why you
point,
picked it.
I remember about Swingers, and like Swingers is a movie that maybe I watched it in 2005, but I heard a lot about it. And it's like one of those movies that is like pretty famous because of the script. That is like, it has like a bit of a cultural reference for my generation. And when I watched it, I remember liking it, but not being over the moon about it. And a part of me was thinking about, hey, it could be fun to rewatch it again, because I remember that it was fine.
So just to recap, you would have been, if you saw it in the year 2000,
Like
2001,
20,
you would have been
something, yeah.
22-ish. Okay.
Yep. So I was just curious because it's like usually we go to movies that we watched a long time ago that we want to revisit. And recently we talked about another movie from the late 90s, similar in that way, that we only watched once. So I was curious to feel about, hey, how am I relating to this movie now at my current age?
All right. So since this was your pick, I will give it a summary. This is going to be a little bit challenging, so step in at any moment. Mike is played by Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
Mike is a comedian, supposedly.
Supposedly, he's not funny at all.
Has moved to LA 6 months-ish ago.
Yeah, from
Within
New
the last
York,
6 months from New York. He has just broken up with Michelle, I believe her name
I
is.
think so.
Michelle and he were girlfriend, boyfriend, living in New York. He broke up with her. He left her, moved to LA, and is trying to become a comedian in LA. It's not going so well. He has a couple friends in LA, but he is just like a wet blanket of a friend, cannot get over her, and his friends are trying to help him get over her. And so they try and help him get over her by taking him to Vegas, taking him to like Frank Sinatra night, trying to get him to hook up with women, showing him how to hook up with women, basically trying to get him to do anything but
Yep.
be the lame-ass human being wet blanket that he is just by existing. So we see him engage with a bunch of women in different situations, and we see his friends engage with women in different situations. And it's always awkward, and all of his friends are awkward, and they have different levels of success in these different situations. until ultimately he has some level of success with a woman. And
What's her name?
Elizabeth.
No, it's not Elizabeth.
Well, it's Roller Girl from Magnolia.
Yep, that one. No, not from Magnolia, from Boogie Nights. There is no roller girls in Magnolia.
Yeah, Roller Girl. I was actually when I saw the movie today, and when I watched it, I was like, do we have this guy to thank for her entire career? Was this her first film?
Maybe, but the funny thing is, like, she looks
Heather Graham.
Heather Graham, yeah. She looks younger in Boogie Nights, but it's 3 years after Swingers.
Well, now that we're talking about it, Boogie Nights was 96, right? So it had to be right at the same time as this.
Yeah, but she looks basically like a high schooler, and in this one she looks like mid-20s.
Well, Boogie Nights had a lot more money, so
they better makeup.
I don't know. And I think that's it. I'm not trying to be reductive, but that's kind of the point of the film. Is it's these very mundane kind of LA vignettes of going around to these kind of basic, superficial LA experiences where things don't work out, like these men who fancy themselves these Frank Sinatra-esque playboys, and they're not.
Yeah,
they have this ridiculous this kind of made up slang, which made me super deeply uncomfortable, and I think it's because I grew up in rural Idaho, and this was the authentic slang we used in rural Idaho in the mid-90s, and now that I saw this movie...
You know where it's coming from.
I really do think it came from this film.
It is. So my boyfriend, I was watching with him this movie, and he told me, it's like, Vegas, baby?
Yeah, no.
It comes from this movie.
And money. Everything was money when I was a kid, and I think it came from this film.
So it's fucking highly influential. Surprisingly influential.
Yeah. And I agree. But I think the point of the film, going back to the synopsis, isn't that anything is supposed to be very, like, impactful. The point is each scene is not impactful.
No, it's about, like, how you get over a breakup. You know? And it's like, that's not over a weekend. Yeah. That's over months. So it's like actually the span, sort of like the span of the whole story, it takes like multiple months.
Yep. And it's as mundane as getting over the breakup.
Well, I mean, it's mundane, but it's like all of the scenes are about like partying or going out or trying to connect. We never see them like audition for a role.
Let me take back the word mundane. They're as familiar as it is getting over a breakup, with some very nice moments that make it feel entertaining. And mundane is not the word I would use to describe the film. Familiar is.
Yeah, familiar.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah. And I think that's a good summary. Yeah. You don't have to say more. So, did you like
it? So I'm not trying to jump ahead to our questions as always, but when I was watching the film, I kept thinking about the question that we will answer is this film is forgettable? And I 100% know that I'm not the target audience for this film. There's a reason
Gen X
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
For me, this film, whether or not it works, is so forgettable. I won't remember a single thing about this film besides the scene towards the end where Vince Vaughn is making faces at a tacky woman, where she... and it's only because I know that scene because
that's
it's
hilarious.
Become a meme.
That one is hilarious.
But I can appreciate the fact this clearly was influential in the 90s because it was unique and the first of its kind, and Jon Favreau was self-deprecating and interesting as a writer, but it's not important.
You know which movie reminded me a lot of, and I'm surprised that I'm mentioning a John Cusack movie for a second time in a row, by High Fidelity, because it's also about like getting over a breakup.
I've only read the book. So
we have to watch the movie. I watched it like fairly recently, but I will be okay. But
that's the one where he's a hitman in high school, right?
No,
Or
he
he's a
has
hit-
a record store.
Oh, and Joan Cusack is in it as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And Cusack is the owner.
I still haven't seen the movie, but I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. So I think that this is an interesting movie from the perspective about like the period of time that it tries to capture. It's like for me watching it again, I wouldn't say that it's refreshing. I could say that it just captures the vibe of a specific time in this country or in life. It's like this is super mid 90s. Is that it cannot deny everything about it. Just screams that about like the mood, like how people act. There is there, and it's like if you grew up with that or you are from that generation, it's absolutely your vibe. But it reminds me of Almost Famous a tiny bit. It reminds me of High Fidelity. It reminds me of all of these like slice of life kind of thing. That is that there is nothing extraordinary about it. It's that you are here on a trip with them.
It's interesting because you and I recently watched, within the last couple of months, we watched Ocean's 11, and I had this thought when we rewatched Swingers, about how Las Vegas is such a litmus test, and I thought people see themselves as either Brad Pitt or Danny
George
Ocean
Clooney.
going to Las Vegas, or they see themselves as either the Ocean's 11's crew or they see themselves as the Swingers crew, and they're one of the two. At
That's
least John
fair.
Favreau has the honesty to be like, well, we think we're the Rat Pack going to Vegas, but when we get to Vegas, it's actually this horrible, awkward, awful thing where we end up making it out with these trailer park girls.
Yeah.
But I don't know which one is more honest and which one has more value.
But do they have to have value or just be entertaining?
Well, that's a question I was asking myself. I know which one I'm going to watch again.
Sure.
It's not Swingers.
No, that's fine. Is that because you actually grew up with Ocean's 11?
Right, but I'm also a 90s kid, and I didn't find Swingers entertaining, so I don't know.
I did find it entertaining. I didn't find it groundbreaking. I didn't think that it did like something to change anything. Maybe at that point there were not so many movies with this tone. That is the tone that you would expect to see from indie movies nowadays.
But let me ask you this question and try to be as honest with yourself
Sure.
as possible. You're on a plane, you're exhausted, you need entertainment. There's only 2 movies available, and it's Ocean's 11 and Swingers. Which one are you going to watch?
I will choose to fall asleep.
Which one are you going to watch? You know you're going to watch Ocean's 11 because Swingers doesn't matter. It's a forgettable film that nobody cares about.
I think that I would choose Swingers, but just for pissing you off.
And that's a fine choice, and I accept that. But we all know nobody cares about Swingers because it doesn't matter. And that's okay. It mattered in
I
the
don't
90s.
think. Well, let's just say that it's a timely movie. We can say
It's
it.
a what?
As a timely movie.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a
It
statement
was-
of the 90s.
It has its own importance. I respect that.
Yeah, but from that perspective, is the same way that it's the comfort food of the 90s. If you grew up with that or you are like from that time, it's like you can relate to it.
100%. And
And if you don't,
You,
it doesn't mean anything.
there are movies that are super important to me in that way, and I brought up this movie in a way you hated recently, and I didn't mean to offend you in the slightest in the way I did it, but The Last Holiday, to me, the Queen Latifah film, is that film to me. It's a film that's unimportant
Wait,
to everybody.
let's be honest. It's like this is a movie that I could say that is it got me like too young. It's like because I was like probably 16 years old when it was released. So it was never directed to me, never. But it was directed to my generation.
And why don't you care about it very much?
No, I mean I care from the perspective that is I find it entertaining. I find it that it's not a bad movie.
Do you? Did
Yeah,
you find it
I
entertaining?
did find it entertaining. I wish that it was better, like the script was better. I thought that it was like a bit of a, hey, you are not the best screenwriter out there. It's like, it's fine, but it's that you're the type of screenwriter that you're writing this role for yourself. because everyone is telling you that you are amazing and you don't prove absolutely anything.
I do have to say that I found, so I read a lot about this film trying to understand the importance it held in the 90s, and everyone loved that Jon Favreau was super self-deprecating, showing
Yeah.
that he could have written a script that made himself look super cool, and he made a script that made himself look lame. And I was like,
But
also
everyone
the
is
script
telling
is
you.
just about how cool he is.
Yeah, everyone is telling him that you're super cool, but he doesn't show it at all.
But he's like, no, I'm not cool, but all these people say I'm cool.
Yeah, so from my perspective, is that, okay, the script is just a moment in time. And I think from that perspective, it's great. But from the perspective of, is it a good script? It's not the best. Let's just be honest.
This is a film that if I had gone to Sundance in 1995 and saw it, I would have been like, this is the future of cinema. In 2025, I'm like, this would have been cool at Sundance.
No, but it's not about like the future, like the destination, but it would be like a step towards the future of indie cinema. Don't you think?
Yes. And I could see it as important as a step.
Yeah.
Yes, I get it.
Yeah. As a step, it's like I had the feeling that this is like fairly good.
Yep. And I can respect that place that it has in the history of cinema as that step.
Yeah. So?
And so, as long as I give it that, can we move on to the questions? And
Yeah, let's do
to
it.
bed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, please, let's do it.
All right, Jose. So, unless you were on a plane and only had the choice between the two films, so would you watch this again, honestly?
I think that I would. I don't know exactly on what would be the situation, but I would watch it again.
All right, so my answer is also yes. It's not that I wouldn't watch this. I also can't imagine when or where.
Yeah.
I would never refuse to watch this again. I don't know
It's
why.
not painful to watch.
Yes. Would you recommend this?
I cannot really think a situation where to recommend it.
My answer is no, because while I would watch it again, I cannot imagine a conversation where I'm like, oh God,
Swingers, you need to
go
watch it.
home right now, open Paramount Plus, which is where you can stream it.
And then let's continue.
Yeah. Okay, would you remember it?
Probably not. I didn't remember much about this movie.
This one, I'm super confident. No, I will forget every scene. I mean, I think that's by design.
Yeah.
You're supposed to just spend a couple days with these dudes. It's supposed
It's
to be
weeks.
forgettable.
It's weeks, I think.
Yeah. But you spend a couple weeks over the whole length of the film, but you spend a couple like specific.
Yeah. Like a snapshots, yeah. Like presence.
Is there anything artistic about this?
So, in perspective, I would probably say no. In perspective, because right now looking at it, it's a bit of a minimalistic movie. They go to bars. I'm trying to think, is the dance scene artistic? Well, no. There is one thing we didn't mention that I actually like about this film. I'm going to go with yes, but it's more of like a self-referential part. Is that when they talk about Reservoir Dogs versus the Goodfellas, and I found it various how they play both of those resources. Therefore, it's like, okay, you're kids, you're playing this card well.
And if you notice, that scene itself is very self-referential, but the film itself starts off in a scene where they're talking in a cafe.
Yep.
And they're shredding the napkins out. Like, it's
Yep.
referencing
Yep.
them.
Yeah. Is that they know what they're doing. Apologies, just looking at the time, at the period of time where they are shooting.
So you're saying, yes, there's artistic stuff about it, and I agree. There are very conscious nods, homages, a lot that's artistic about it, and we both agree that in the context of the 90s, it's important. So now, a more complicated question, is there something timeless about it?
No, it's completely timely. It's like, of course, it's like getting over a breakdown, a breakup is super timeless, but how they go over it is super 90s, like incredibly 90s. This movie could be recorded like in every single decade. We have one of these movies in every single decade, but this is the 90s version.
So I wrote down no as well, but I struggle with the fact that if we were to be in 100 years looking at a textbook of cinema,
A breakdown movie?
I think if we were looking at important comedies of the 1990s, this would probably pop up. So it's timely as fuck, 100%, but it's important.
Do you think so? I mean, because I got the feeling that there is like reality bites and other stuff from the 90s. It's not a comedy, but it's that there is a lot of other 90s movies about like the 90s.
But don't you think, what's the Kevin Smith film that everyone loves from the 90s?
Mallrats?
No, the one with where they steal money.
Oh, Clerks.
Is that the one where they embezzle money, where they steal like a penny from every account? I mean, the actor from this film is also in it.
John Favreau?
No,
Chasing Amy?
the guy who plays
Dogma?
golf in it. The guy who plays golf in this film that we're reviewing.
I think that you're going down a rabbit hole that I cannot follow.
Jesus Christ. Who plays Rachel in Friends?
Who what?
Who plays Rachel in Friends? Rachel
I don't know.
in Friends.
Oh, Jennifer Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston plays an Applebee's waitress in this film.
Oh, Office Space.
Office Space. In this textbook, I think Office Space is going to be mentioned as an important 90s comedy.
Yeah, because it's Mike Judge.
Yes.
Yes.
You don't think that this film will be mentioned next to Mike Judge's name?
I don't think so. Is this Mike Judge?
It's
No.
not, but I see it as important as this film.
No, I think that Office Space made more damage or whatever it is. Mike Judge nowadays, he's still writing stuff. I just watched like recently an animated show that he actually co-created.
But Jon Favreau is directing like crazy.
What is he directed? Now he's an actor in Marvel movies. So I don't give the same credit to them. I'm sorry. I wish I did.
But it doesn't matter what he's doing in 2025. I'm saying, like, I feel like this is as impactful in the 90s.
For a while he was directing. But I wouldn't compare Mike Judge with Jon Favreau.
But again, I'm not comparing what they do now. I'm saying in the 90s, both of these films were super impactful, right?
But Office Space had actually staying power, and I don't think that this movie has staying power.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. I think that is very timely. About like it's stuck in the 90s,
Alright.
and it's a bit more about like a topic presented through the prism of the 90s.
Well, all of that being said, I haven't seen that film either. But I know that people just love when Jennifer Aniston has all of the flair. People just love that she has flair.
Office
I
Space, a
think
movie that I
it's
can
so
watch.
funny that she has all these
No.
buttons on her
No,
suspenders.
no,
It's
out.
like the
No,
funniest joke.
let's just move on.
But she has
No,
suspenders.
I heard it, but no, let's move on.
Would you turn this into a TV show?
No.
I don't think so either. There could be material there, but I wouldn't.
I mean, because a series of vignettes, but I had the feeling that watching them over 2 months, you couldn't add anything.
I do wonder if there's enough material for the friend that he golfs with. I kind of wanted to know more about that.
You
character.
want to know
just that one character.
You want to know what Disneyland character he actually landed.
Yes, the one that got rejected as Goofy.
It works out. I mean, it's the way it works out. I mean, there's too much.
He's the only character that I felt like I wanted to know more about.
Yeah. Well, because that storyline is so LA trying to make it actors
And he
that I
also
love
came
it.
from New York, right?
Yes.
He's the only other one that came from New York.
I love that storyline when he actually says like, well, he's making is that I make an ad and a pilot. And he's like, well, if you make it, I thought that I could make it too.
I thought that this was a laugh out loud comedy more so than it
Yeah.
was. But the one joke that made me laugh out loud was that character got rejected for a part for Goofy, and then
At Disneyland.
at Disneyland, but after an interaction with Jon Favreau at the end, he's like, "Well, bye, I have to go." And Jon Favreau's like, "What? Did you get rejected for Pluto?" And the character gets all pissed off, and I was like, "That's a funny joke."
Yeah.
Okay, so you would not turn this
Nope.
into a TV show. I would not either. But do you think this could have been a short?
I don't think so. I think that is for just conveying the feeling of getting over. I have to say that I love that scene where he's like really got over Emily. Michelle. Yeah, that scene with the calls. I thought that is that. Oh, this is actually pretty sweet. It actually feels a bit heartfelt.
Hurry up.
And I appreciated how they had Michelle engage with him because that was really realistic. I thought they were going to have her be over the top and unrealistic, and I was like, oh, this is really well played.
Yep.
I think you had to spend enough aimless time with Jon Favreau's character that you had to understand his aimlessness, so it could not have been a short. So do you think this film could have been better, Jose?
I'm going to say yes. I mean, just from the perspective that I feel like the script, it's a bit weak. I don't know. I mean, it just feels me like I should be caring more about these characters, but I fucking hate when you see a movie or a show that is the main character is mostly pathetic, but everyone around is just selling him out.
I respect that. So my answer is going to be no, but only because this is a film that I clearly don't understand to some extent. I can respect the importance it had in the 90s, and I want to understand more about it before I would tell you how to do it better. That's it.
Sure.
That's all.
Yeah, that's completely fine.
So then it is time to score the film.
Okay.
This was my pick.
No, this was
your
my pick.
So I have to score this first. On a scale of 1 to 10.
Yes. That's usually what we
I would
use.
score this a 5.5, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very aggressive. It didn't come across, but okay.
And you?
I'm going to score it at 6.5.
6.5? I mean, that's not that different.
No, it's not different. I think there is a bit more about like, the generational difference here.
We're in the same fucking generation, Jose.
No,
as much
we're
as you want to be
not,
that much
I'm
older than me.
not a millennial.
5 years.
Sure, but I'm
5
not a
years.
millennial.
Okay.
So,
All right. So 6.5, 5.5.
anything else to say about it?
Regardless, not good numbers for swingers. You can steer clear
Nope.
of this one.
Nope.
Go
nope.
watch La Ventura.
Sure. Those are the two options. These are the two options tonight: La Ventura and Swingers. You choose. You choose your own adventure. Right, to everyone else, to everyone out there, thank you so much for listening to us.
Until next time, don't watch swingers.
Bye.